Mike Moore Media, the first place to hear Rockingham County news and information.
Rockingham County Manager Lance Metzler is on the media line. Hey, Lance, how are you?
Good morning, Mike. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm doing well. And, you know, everybody says, well, hello, how are you? But really, how are you? Because that's kind of a generic opening there. But you've had a personal experience with COVID-19. So bring us up to date, and you and your family.
To let the people know the real perspective. You know, sometimes people often get caught up with the politics and of the media hype or the lack of hype for the COVID virus. And while it is a virus and everybody will have potentially be exposed to it at some point in time if they don't get the vaccine, you know, it really hit home for us. I turned the big 50 on November 23rd, and for my birthday present, I came in contact with an exposure with COVID, and so my wife and I got it. And during that weekend, we went to celebrate in Asheville with some friends of ours, and they also got COVID. So out of my contact with the person here, there were 5 other exposures. You know, and just to put it out there in perspective, if you were to look at my blood type plus my athleticism, one would think based on the readings is that you'll either be asymptomatic or be very little symptoms at most, and that just goes against the grain as far as what I had to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, I started getting the upper respiratory part. It felt like a horse was sitting on my chest, and then eventually coughs, and then it turned into headaches, muscle atrophy, major fatigue, violent coughs. It was chills, nausea, muscle aches, loss of appetite, all those things. And it was probably 3 or 4 days of, you know, one day I thought that I was going to have to go to the hospital because I was totally out of it. So, and it's a long lingering thing. It doesn't necessarily go away. I've talked to, a commissioner of mine that's had it. I've talked to some of the other ones that you still feel that fatigue. You're really not 100%. And while we didn't have a fever, we didn't lose taste, we didn't lose smell. Foods don't taste the same as they normally did, and I was told it takes time to get back to that. But Gwen and I both had it. She was Gwen's my wife. She had a few minor symptoms, but nothing compared to what I had experienced. And again, I just want to make sure that people understand that, you know, we'd had this full Thanksgiving plan. We had our friends that had their full Thanksgiving plan. We're going to have people come in, and we had the quarantine, so we were not able to have Thanksgiving. And I don't want that to happen to other ones out there, the ones that for Christmas, you know, they need to make sure that they know who's vulnerable and who can get it, so they don't want to give it to somebody that's an elderly person that may not be able to survive the symptoms that are brought on by this virus. And again, it attacks people in different ways. I mean, you could get it, Mike, and you could be asymptomatic, maybe have a slight cough, and your wife could get it, and she could be in bed for 5 or 6 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's like you were saying, it really goes against the grain of what you think, how it would be, as you found out personally.
Yeah, you know, what I read was if you're O positive, which I'm O positive blood type, that typically you'll be very asymptomatic or you'll have minimum symptoms, and that's not the case. You know, I work out 5 to 7 days a week typically, and you know you're in good shape. Don't worry about it. You'll be asymptomatic, and that does not go according to what I've read. I was supposed to have not had symptoms, and it goes against what I've read.
Yeah. You know, and that's the scary part, I guess, Lance, because the unknowns that are there.
Yeah. So once you're diagnosed with it, the virus, then the anticipation comes along. Okay, now I know I've got it. What type of symptoms will I see? Mm-hmm. And hopefully for most people out there, they'll see very few, but you never can tell. Every day is different. It could be one day is a good day, the next day is a bad day. The next day is good, the next day is bad. So it all depends on how that virus will attack you and how much of the virus you get in your system.
You were there in such a high-profile position as CEO of the county, How do you ever? I've wondered about this from the beginning. How do you actually track or trace? Who you have come in contact with, and all kind of like a family tree and the branches that go out. How do you do that?
It's so hard. So when everybody shut down in March, the county stayed wide open. We stayed open through the whole pandemic because we have services that we're required to provide. So there's really, I know of the individual that I came in contact with, so I'm fairly confident it came from that individual. But there's people, like you said, I come in contact with all the time. I would not have known, if I didn't know this individual had it, I would have never known who or where I'd gotten it from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I want to make sure, though, that the people sitting out there going, okay, well, it's hype in the news. It is, but it's also serious because as a personal perspective that I had, it can cause, some issues. And I would hate that to happen to someone taking it to their loved ones during Christmas time and infect somebody that could potentially cause a fatal issue in their family.
Yeah. Well, some people are taking this so seriously, and some people are not. So what advice do you have to those?
My advice is that the masks have been, do the 3 W's: wait in line, wash your hands, and wear your mask. I think that the important thing is in wearing the mask. While while masks aren't flawless, what I have been told is the mask greatly reduce the droplets. So the more droplets you get in your system from this COVID virus, the more amplified your symptoms will be. So if you're wearing a mask and I'm wearing a mask, you may get COVID, but you may have a slight cough. You may have minimal symptoms. But, if you and I are working out in the gym together and I'm breathing in a lot of your droplets, the odds are my symptoms are going to be a lot more severe than somebody wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So we certainly need to be on the alert, that's for sure. And there's so much, you kind of mentioned this a little bit ago, who do we trust with this information? Because there are some things out there in the media that we can't believe.
Yeah. And, it's hard. I know the governor's trying to take a strong stance on it, and I certainly understand what he's doing, but, you can't shut everything down. Life still has to go on. I mean, that's a fact. You just got to make sure you take precautions to really understand your surroundings. And again, know your family, know your family's history, know if there's anybody in your family that's got underlying conditions or that are elderly that may be susceptible to symptoms that may cause extenuating circumstances with their health. I mean, that's just important to make sure that you know your surroundings. When you go out, be mindful of other people. Again, it's a fine line between wearing your mask at home versus wearing your mask in the public, and it's all a balancing act. And I think that it's important for us to have that balancing act and to do a good job with reiterating to the public is that it is a virus, like it is. You have the flu, you've got all types of different things that are out there. This is just a kind of an unknown one because it affects people in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you and your wife had to go through that, but I appreciate your perspective. That's very important. Thanks for sharing that with us, and I'm glad you're on the mend and still some things there you've got to fine-tune, but I hope you're going to be okay and heal well.
Well, I appreciate that. And one thing I just want to make sure that is if anybody does get in contact or does contract the virus, make sure that you have plenty of vitamin C and D and take plenty of zinc. We purchased an oxygen reader. If your oxygen dips below 90, they say you probably need to go to the hospital. So we kept an oxygen reader and continued to monitor our oxygen. It stayed between 97 and 99, which was good. So those are just some suggestions to make if somebody does come in contact with COVID and contracts the virus itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you kind of nervous now more than you would have been since you've been through this?
I'm more nervous for other people, yes. Okay. I mean, I've been through it. I've experienced it, but I'm more apprehensive for my fellow man than I am myself because, I can handle it, but it's, again, it's concerning for those who might have underlying conditions. For instance, my daughter has an autoimmune deficiency. I would hate for her to have been around me because her symptoms might have been a lot more aggressive than what mine were.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, let's talk about pet food. Last
Let's
month,
talk about pet food.
last month we were talking about Nestle Purina Pet Care and that $450 million project at the former Miller Coors plant in Eden. And tomorrow and yesterday, Farmina Pet Foods making a big announcement in Reidsville, almost $29 million. This is exciting news, Lance, for the county.
It is, Mike. It is, and just those two things, and then you saw we had a Project Disney, which is Ruger. Ruger is going to expand their line, adding 60 additional folks, $10 million investment. So, Rockingham County. Everybody keeps asking me, Lance, how's this pandemic affecting your county? I'm telling them, look, it's surprisingly doing well considering the circumstances. Considering we are in a pandemic. Like you said, the Farmina was an excellent announcement for both Reidsville and Rockingham County. Nestle was great for Eden and Rockingham County. The Madison-Maiden area, so the western part got the big kick for the Ruger plant. We've got some more announcements that we'll be making in the next several weeks as well. So, I mean, it's great. Our sales tax is up. Our collection rates are up as far as our real estate and personal property taxes. So, the county is faring well. I think you'll see that out of a lot of rural counties, not maybe the metropolitan, the urban counties, but more the rural counties are surviving better simply because people are staying at home and ordering online or keeping their money locally versus going out to these metropolitan areas.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And there's a building boom. I mean, there are new businesses opening right and left.
What are you talking about? We've got houses. We've got housing. The housing market's booming.
Yeah.
You've got businesses that are going up. And I love going riding around the county and seeing dirt moved. It's great to see. You want to keep the rural aspect of Rockingham County because it is a very wonderful place to live, work, and play. But also you want to see activity. And I think the balance right now is very good for the county. I think the chemistry, I think the dynamics in Rockingham County is a special dynamic that has not been seen in years. I've been here 9 years, December the 5th. And I'm not seeing the dynamic like we've seen the past 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're in a good place in Rockingham County.
Yes, we are. Love it. Wouldn't change it for $1 million.
Yeah, I understand. I hear you. Well, we've got about a minute and a half left. If you'd like to sum up there, Lance.
I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's going to be a good year. 2021 has to be better than 2020.
Right.
So we can, I always have 2020 vision. That's always the thing. But let's just get past 2020. Let's go to 2021. Let's get back to where we can get to normal activity, where we can go shopping, where we can see each other, where we can just get back to some normalcy, which we need in this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we certainly do. Okay, well, but we are so fortunate to have all of the good things that are happening in the county. We're blessed in so many ways.
Yeah.
And Lance, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you. I hope you and your family and Rockingham County staff, the team has a great Christmas.
Thank you, Mike. You too. Take care of yourself.
Okay, you too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's Rockingham County Manager Lance Metzler. You can get more information on finding out what's happening around Rockingham County at myrockinghamcountync.com. And again, I was just talking to Mabel Scott yesterday. I mentioned this on an earlier podcast. We were talking about the holidays and good things happening in the county. So she wanted me to also extend to you on behalf of Rockingham County government, just like Lance there, a very Merry Christmas and all the best in the new year.